Let me tell you something that might just mess with your head for the rest of the day. Imagine you wake up, stretch head outside with your mug of coffee, and instead of that familiar morning quiet, you hear the sound of your whole life getting walled off. Literally. I'm not exaggerating. Picture yourself looking down the drive and seeing the only way in or out of your home blocked off by these giant, hulking gray concrete barriers, the kind you usually only see on the side of freeways. Except this time, they're not stopping traffic. They're stopping you from living your life. I mean, is this America or a bad dystopian Netflix show? But that's exactly how it went down for Arthur Art Miller. This guy in his 50s, standing there in his boxers and a faded Miller's Orchard t-shirt, staring at what used to be his driveway, now barricaded off by the kind of HOA power trip you only hear about in stories people post on Reddit. Except this one was real and it was brutal. And it wasn't even some kind of bureaucratic screw-up like, oops, we sent the trucks to the wrong address. No, this was calculated. A message bold and cold. We want you gone. And you know the punchline. His mom, Nana Rose, 78 years old, needed to get to dialysis that morning. His daughter, Sophie, 16, and already late for her first soccer game of the season, was stuck inside. Art's wife, Elena, was pacing the kitchen trying to figure out how to call 911 when even emergency vehicles couldn't get through. It was more than a hassle. It was a siege. You could still smell the cement in the air like it was clogging your throat, but honestly, the fear was way more suffocating. Now, the HOA Summit Heights Association, which is just as fancy as it sounds, had the gall to say, oh, it's emergency structural repairs. Sure. And I'm the Queen of England. Art wasn't buying it for a second. He knew this was the endgame, the crescendo of a 2-year campaign to choke him out, force him to sell his family's 15 acres of prime, beautiful orchard land for pennies so they could finish their $1 million McMansion expansion. That land was worth $3.2 million, but to the HOA, it was just a bump in the road. But you know, sometimes these storybook villains pick the wrong protagonist. They didn't know Art had been quietly documenting everything. 2 years of footage files, voice memos, he had a bomb in his back pocket, legally speaking. The kind of thing that doesn't just get the road reopened but lands people in orange jumpsuits. Art Miller at 52 was about to become the hero in a story he never wanted to be in. He was third generation on that land. Miller's Orchard. The kind of place that if you closed your eyes and let yourself drift back 50 years, you could still hear the laughter, the sound of apple blossoms in the wind, the crunch of boots on gravel, the honest hard work of rural America. His granddad, Grandpa Silas, built the place, planted every one of those ancient apple trees himself, back when the county was just a patchwork of dirt roads and neighbors actually waved to each other. Heck, Grandpa Silas even put up his own cash to help build the little stone bridge Old Creek Crossing that was now being used as a bargaining chip against Art's family. That bridge connected their home to the world. It was history, it was legacy, it was everything. The Millers lived in this creaky, beautiful Victorian farmhouse. 5 generations had grown up under that roof. Art, Elena, the nurse, Sophie, the soccer dynamo, and Nana Rose, who despite her health was still the glue holding it all together. But money, money comes in and ruins everything. It always does. 10 years ago, some slick developer with dollar signs in his eyes bought up all the land around them, paved over the past, and dropped 47 luxury homes that looked like they'd been copied and pasted out of a catalog. They sold for $1 million a pop. Overnight, the Millers went from being the family down the road to that weird holdout with the ugly farm. People stopped seeing their orchard as a source of food and started seeing it as a blight. That's when the Summit Heights Association showed up, this little club of rich folks with too much time and not enough empathy, declaring they ran the private road and the bridge Grandpa Silas built. The easement documents from 1962 were so vague you could drive a truck through the loopholes, and trust me, Patty Vance was the kind of woman who would drive a Tesla through anything if it meant getting her way. Now, Patty Patricia Vance, she's the real villain here. I mean, you can't make this up. Picture a retired pharma exec, more makeup than face tennis whites that somehow never got dirty, and the sort of attitude that could curdle milk. She ran for HOA president. Nobody dared run against her. And the second she got the job, the terror began. Odors from the orchard, letters about property values, noise complaints about tractors at sunrise because God forbid food gets grown before yoga class. Soon she was stalking Art's every move, taking photos, timing his trips, measuring tire ruts literally with a ruler. She brought in the big guns, Sterling and Stone, a law firm famous for crushing small fry, threatening Art with legal extinction if he couldn't cough up some impossible proof of access. She made it clear this wasn't about money. It's about the community, she said with a smile sharp enough to slice a lemon, and you, Arthur, are not part of it. That's when Art started recording every word. The night before the barricades went up, Patty held a secret emergency meeting, no Millers allowed. The next morning, the world changed. Nana Rose missed her dialysis. Sophie's grades took a hit. Elena was in tears. Art understood this wasn't just a legal dispute. This was an all-out siege. 48 hours later, a letter arrived, 14 pages, legal threats so thick you'd think they were written in concrete. They accused Art of damaging community infrastructure with his commercial traffic, even included photos of tire marks as proof. But get this, Art looked closely and saw the tracks were made by the HOA's own trucks, the ones that had put up the barriers. They gave him 21 days to remedy the violations or lose access forever. Translation: sell or starve. Art didn't waste time. While Elena kept the farm running and Sophie picked up extra chores, Art dug deep, literally down in the county records basement, surrounded by dust and flickering lights, looking for a miracle. And wouldn't you know it, he found one, the original 1962 deed, clear as day. Said the Millers had perpetual rights for vehicle access for both home and farm. Even better, it said maintenance costs had to be split according to use. And as Art pored over the numbers, he saw the HOA had been double billing, charging trucking companies, then charging the HOA members and pocketing the difference. Fraud, plain and simple. He called in Martha Lewis, the town's sharpest, saltiest lawyer, smoked like a chimney, hated HOAs with a passion. She filed a quiet title action, demanded a full audit of the HO as suspiciously large $180,000 road budget. And boom, the money trail exploded open. Turns out the HOA had been billing the same road repairs to two sets of accounts, stealing $45,000 for themselves. That's when Patty went nuclear. She started a smear campaign calling Art's fertilizer toxic, passing out flyers with zoomed-in photos to make his compost look like biohazard waste. She installed these blinding LED floodlights at the end of Art's driveway, turned their cozy farmhouse nights into something out of a prison break movie. Art set up trail cameras in the woods. The farm stand became ground zero for neighborly gossip. One day, Mrs. Higgins, retired teacher, gentle as pie, pulled Art aside. "Watch out," she whispered. "Patty's planning something worse." Sure enough, next day, Art's tires were slashed right there in the school parking lot. Security footage caught a white Tesla prowling nearby. Suddenly, it wasn't just about property anymore, it was about scaring the Millers out for good. Art started keeping a baseball bat by his bed. Elena changed her driving route every day. Every sound in the night became a threat. But Art had an ace Patty didn't see coming, 2 years' worth of recordings, every threat, every slip, every bribe, all saved in the cloud. When Patty tried to drown him in red tape, unleashing every inspector in the county, Martha went on offense. Elena dug into Patty's social media, found her whining and dining local officials' LinkedIn connections that explained why the crackdown was so coordinated. Martha filed complaints for selective enforcement, demanding emails between the board and the county. The emails were damning. They talked about making Art so miserable he'll take any offer. At this point, you got to ask yourself, how far would you go just to get rid of one stubborn neighbor? Here comes the twist. Mrs. Higgins, the sweetest, least likely hero, hid her phone under a pillow and caught Patty on tape plotting the next phase. Audio clear as a bell, Patty discussing how to buy Art out at 40% below market, flip the land cash out big. Suddenly, it wasn't just HOA politics. It was full-on conspiracy, wire fraud, racketeering. Oh, and that Greg guy Patty kept mentioning, turns out he's the developer in bed with the whole scam. Patty wasn't done. She faked a drought, emergency cut off Art's water supply, mysteriously broke the main line in the dead of summer, hoping to finish him off. But Art, God bless his stubborn streak, brought in a drilling crew, punched a well right in his own yard. Legal, fast, loud. The sound of that drill at 6 a.m. must have driven Patty up the wall. But by now, it was open war. Patty's loyalists blocked the farm stand. Sophie got shunned at school. Nana Rose stopped talking altogether. The breaking point. Someone never proven who, but everyone knows, sprayed industrial herbicide all along Art's property line, killing rows of heritage apple trees. Trees Grandpa Silas had planted with his own hands. Art stood in the dawn touching the withered branches, watching Sophie cry, listening to Nana Rose's silence, and realized they didn't just want his land. They wanted to erase him. But the universe has a funny way of flipping the script. Photos of the dead trees went viral. The town rallied behind the Millers and Patty. She doubled down, called Art's restaurant clients, whispered lies about food. Safety tanked his business by 70% overnight. His insurance got canceled the same day the fire inspector slapped him with a $25,000 upgrade bill. Turns out Patty sat on the insurance company's board. The corruption was everywhere. That's when the final straw broke. Art's cameras caught dump trucks, middle of the night, dumping construction debris, concrete, rebar, chemical waste right on his organic fields. Patty filed complaints, tried to pin it on Art, but the proof was too strong. The FBI, who'd been quietly watching, moved in. $400,000 in shady wire transfers from the developer to Patty's consulting firm neighbors, coming forward with footage of Patty handing out cash to board members. Suddenly, the whole operation was unraveling. But the stress was destroying Art's family. Nana Rose's health collapsed. Sophie was sinking. Elena was secretly house hunting out of state. One night, Art found her crying in the laundry room, holding Sophie's jersey, whispering, "What if she wins, Art?" And that was it. He was done playing defense. Art gathered his people, Martha, the lawyer, David, the accountant, Elena, and Sophie. They went full offensive. Martha's paralegal found a loophole in the old bridge contract. If road costs ever got too high, control reverted to the county. The HOA had overspent by nearly 900%. The developer's independent contractor was just a shell for laundering money. The county was now on the hook for civil rights violations, especially since they'd blocked a disabled elderly woman. And the real ace, Art found the original environmental study for the McMansions had illegally excluded his orchard. Now, with Patty's attacks, a new federal review was triggered. The land was home to protected birds, all development frozen. Loans pulled. Summit Heights, the developer, circling the drain. The final battle was a town hall meeting, Riverside Community Center packed to the rafters. TV crews, neighbors, law enforcement, Patty under federal escort wearing her trademark tennis whites plus an ankle monitor, her face all Botox and regret. Art took the podium. 2 years ago, we thought we were fighting a bully. Turns out it was organized crime. He laid it all out, fraud, bribes, tapes. The whole ugly mess. David's charts. Mrs. Higgins's audio, even footage of Greg the developer being led away in handcuffs. The FBI agent announced the largest rural property rights bust in state history. 37 defendants, 200 families, decades of prison time. The crowd roared. The Millers' land was granted permanent federal protection. No one would ever build on it again. Nana Rose, fragile but fierce, wheeled herself to the mic and said, "In America, you shouldn't need the FBI to protect you from your neighbors." The whole place went silent. Patty got 32 years. Greg got life. The developer's assets were liquidated to pay back the victims. 3 months later, the concrete barriers were gone. The birds came back. Sophie got a scholarship to study law, Elena started a fund for other farmers, and Art finally breathed again. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night, and maybe it'll do the same for you. Why did Art have to become a warrior, burn down lives, break the world just to get a little justice? Does justice even mean anything if you have to fight like hell to get it, or is it just for the brave and the lucky? What would you have done in his place? I want to know, where's the line between standing your ground and burning it all down? Drop your thoughts, your stories, your own neighborhood nightmares in the comments. Let's talk about what justice really means and what it costs.